Talk to Anas El-Gomati, who is the director of the Sadeq Institute. He joins us now live from London. Anas, thank you so much for making the time. I was saying earlier that Sadeq Institute is a public policy think tank that has been established in Libya since 2011. So you would be the best person to talk to us about General Mohammed al-Haddad, who's been termed as a unifying figure in Libya. How so? Just how instrumental has he been in Tripoli?
Well, he's a professional military man. He's served the military for his entire career, and he's someone that is very unique in Libya's political history and even its military history. He was someone that believed that a military figure should serve the state, not replace it. And that's made him really symbolic in terms of Libya's turbulent recent history. You know, rather than have a warlord that has entered into politics, as we have in the eastern part of the country with Khalifa Haftar, we have someone that is now serving a second or third government over the last 10 years. So this is really where he's become a unifying figure, because he's really stayed out of politics, he's stayed away from factionalism, and he's stayed away from the temptations of power.
Let's talk more about his role, because he's earlier quoted as saying that the army will serve the nation's interest away from political strife. Let's talk about his role amidst the presence of two governments in Libya.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, his job was nearly impossible. How do you build a unified military when you have two rival governments? And more than that, he was pivotal to the UN-brokered military ceasefire deal in 2020, but he was also leading talks with the rival military officers in the east of the country. And I think he was a symbolic figure in that sense, but he's also showed in many very sad ways how over the last 10 years, there have been people that are ripe, not only for peace. I think most Libyans in East and West are ripe for peace. Nobody wants to see two governments. But this is someone that really served his institution and was trying to work with his counterparts in the East. And that's why he's deemed as this kind of neutral figure. And he's also deemed as someone that was a true servant to the state.
Now, the impact in Libya is already being felt. They've already declared a 3-day period of mourning. So let's talk about the future. Might be too early to talk about this, but regardless, what does the military and security future of Libya, what will it look like without him?
Well, I mean, there are four significant figures on that plane: chief advisors, weapons advisors as well. So, it's not short of seeing Libya's top military brass, almost decapitated in a single move and in a single night. So it's catastrophic from a symbolic sense, and in terms of a technical sense. Power on the ground still does lie with very powerful armed brigades that have been in power now for the last 14, 15 years in Western Libya, same case under a family in Eastern Libya. But when it comes to succession, I think it's still too early to tell. I think there might be certain groups that will want to see themselves take that position, and I think they will try and be tempted by the opportunity that it affords. We have got 3 days of mourning. I think it will be a test of the political character and the class of individuals like Khalifa Haftar and the Libyan National Army in the east of the country, of whether they abide by that 3-day of mourning, whether this is something that brings the country together for a brief moment before they go back to dividing it again. But I think it's still very, very early, and I think it's still too early to tell. But you can't put it past armed groups that have been around for a long time now to want to test the waters and maybe try and test if one of the couple of brigades that have been around in Tripoli now for the last decade, the last 15 years, maybe they might want to try and test their chances.
And as let's talk Turkey-Libya relations, because we are aware that the general was here to discuss the military and the security situation in Libya. So talk to us more about these relations of these two countries.
Well, I mean, there is a very, very long history with Turkey and Libya, going back to the Ottoman Empire. But in recent history, one can look at the memorandum of understanding that was signed and the maritime agreement that was signed with the government of national accord in Tripoli in 2019. There was a period of where Turkey entered into the Libyan civil war and stabilized that war, brought it to a ceasefire in early or late 2020 rather. And since then, we've seen warming relations between Ankara and Benghazi, even visits by the head of the parliament from Eastern Libya. Khalifa Haftar's sons like Saddam and Belgasim have also been in Ankara over the last recent months and the last year. So we've seen Turkey kind of establish itself as a powerhouse in Libya. But over the last 18 months, the last 12 months, they've also taken a role as a neutral arbiter between those two factions. So I think it's it's really the case that it's a rarity to see a country now that in a place so divided, where various factions have various backers, to see delegations go from Tripoli to Benghazi and be able to meet both, and for Ankara to be able to host Tripoli and Benghazi. Turkey occupies a very unique position, and it has done for quite a while, and I think it will stand the test of time as they go forward. So I think it's a position that has transformed and evolved as Libya has evolved. I don't think Libya has necessarily caught up, but it's not far behind. We've seen other actors in the region who were once on the other side of that civil war, like Egypt, for example, they're now coming closer to Turkey on brokering a political deal to maybe unify the rival governments. The incident of today and how deep that unification might go from the political to the military level might test that. But it's, again, still too early to tell. But having history on the ground and having outreach to both factions certainly helps.
Right. Anas El-Gomati, the director of the Sadeq Institute, thank you for your time and your insights.
Thank you.